How we doing, guys? I got my gang back together, Donnie and Gov. So let's move the chains a bit, guys. What did you guys think about uh, this week in general? Like any takeaways, even real life football, fantasy football. Like this was a big playoff push for people. So just an overview of what you guys thought. Like what were you cheering for? Anything in particular?
I was extremely happy. Well, what's the right word? Happy is not the right word. Uh, I like that San Francisco looks good with Brock Purdy. All right, I have a soft spot for that team in the NFC right now because I'm a McCaffrey guy, so I kind of want them to come out of the NFC. And like Purdy looking solid, knowing the weapons they have, it really sucks for Debo. It really does suck for Debo. That's sad. That's going to be rough.
Be back before the end of the season.
They say, but like if this is high ankle sprain kind of stuff, he'll be back by week 18, but he won't be effective till Super Bowl time if they make it. He'll be decoy Debo in the playoffs, and that's not something I want to see.
Can I make a point about that I think is very valid, that I think all three of us would agree on, and we can get Donnie's opinion here? I like it for the Lions' chances to make the playoffs, right? As a fan. But obviously, as a person, as a fan of football, you hate to see injuries.
Right.
But you understand they exist in the scope that they exist in a physical exertion sport like football. So when they do favor your team, like Donnie's a Patriots guy, when he sees Kyler Murray go down, he's not celebrating that Kyler Murray went down, but the probability for the Patriots goes way up. So he's allowed to be like, hey, the probability for my favorite team to make the playoffs has went way up. I can be excited for this factor and say, oh, it sucks to be Colt McCoy. I wish, the Cardinals were at full strength. I don't know why people have that association bias. And I think it gives fantasy owners of the season long and the daily fantasy the wrong vibe. Like if you would ask Bill Belichick, I think that's probably part of the reason he hates the community, because we kind of give off that narrative when that's further from the truth. Would you guys agree? You guys can leave that where it's at if you don't have anything to add.
I mean, I wasn't like disappointed to see as a fan, I'm disappointed to see Kyler Murray go down, but I want my Patriots in the playoffs, and they are going to struggle in these last 4 weeks because it's a very tough schedule, and they need breaks like that.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying, Donnie. It's more like breaks. You're not accelerated by the fact that he's hurt. You're not excited, but you're like, hey, this happened, and this probability affects my favorite team in a positive, so I can be positive about that without being like, oh, I'm celebrating an injury. I don't know why it has. Like, I feel like that's a societal thing that sometimes we're all or nothing, But I think you put it right. It's breaks. You're not stopping, but you're not accelerating either. You're just accepting things for what they are. Also, that's why Baker Mayfield's with the Rams, because I think it's a good insurance policy. Just to transition to a different example, if Matthew Stafford comes back, I think you would beat out Baker, but they don't have a first-round draft pick. It goes to the Lions. So if Stafford does retire because of the spinal issue, and he doesn't want to do the Peyton Manning thing, they at least have a capable starter. They don't have to rely on a rookie right from the gate, even if they wanted to transition to the rookie next year at some point. So I don't know. I view these things differently than some people. Was there anything that you thought should have happened that didn't happen? And then secondly, do you think that was a luck-based thing, or do you think that was just maybe a error in our process? So, like, do you think it was lucky, or do you think, like, we made a process mistake somewhere along last week?
I mean, I'm shocked that the Jaguars game went as how it went.
I am not, honestly. That one I'm not, because Tennessee has been a pass funnel all year, and we've been wanting Trevor Lawrence to be that So this was just sort of like set up to be that perfect storm game for him to do that. Now, Evan Ingram, like, that's also a weird one because I want to say, I could see
11,
that.
162, 2 touchdowns.
I could say that he's had 10 target games this year, and he could have easily, and you could have seen that coming. But like, wow, that's a big game.
Well,
like,
Evan Ingram had a huge
second time this year we've had a break the slate 40-point game from a tight end.
From a tight end.
Yep, it was him and Hawkinson.
Both of them were traded, by the way. Funny fact about that.
Ingram was a free agent signing.
Free agent. I just mean he was released by his team. You were right. Thanks for calling me out, though. So,
although Hawkinson did have his big game while still with the Lions.
With the Lions, right. It's just funny that both teams basically gave up on these superior talents that are both considered big receivers. I don't know. I just kind of made that correlation quickly in my head.
No, that's the right correlation. Like, they are two guys who are now on different teams, but they clearly are top talent tight ends. Maybe not Kelsey, Andrews, but like those guys are probably next tier down when healthy.
But I do think that's a good launching point, though, because I don't think me or you, Gov, were that surprised by the Jacksonville Jaguars' potential. Maybe Donnie's surprised because they actually put it together. Similar to like the Lions, it's like we always knew they had potential of talent, Kelvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford. But it's like, for whatever reason, the black cloud of that culture was just on that team. And I think people see that with like even teams like the Jets. You're like, oh, they're the Jets. They had Curtis Martin, for a while. They had the Rex Ryan, but then they had Mark Sanchez, and it screwed things up. So, like, do you think it's that, Donnie, or do you think like maybe you underrated the Lions' performance to shut them out the week before? Like, why aren't you a believer in the Jags? And then what would you tell a fantasy owner if he had like Travis Etienne or?
Yeah, it's not even that. I think the Jags. I thought they were going to be a lot better than they were this year.
Yep.
I thought Trevor Lawrence was going to play better, but it's not that they won or that they won in the fashion that they did. It's who showed out when they won. Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk only had 5 catches that game. I mean, Etienne averaged 1.9 yards per carry. It's just the fashion of which they won that was rather shocking to me. I thought, if they were going to win like that, Etienne was going to have a decent game. Christian Kirk would have more than 5 for 45. But, when one guy starts going off, they just kept targeting him. I don't know how many targets Evan Ingram had. I'd assume at least 15.
So we talked about it before this show, and we wanted to kind of give you guys a more fun, rapid-fire kind of experience where we review things that happened last week, but in a way that we can propel it for the fantasy playoff, for these upcoming bigger weeks where we see less bye weeks, where we see more Saturday splits. And so finding the right process and the right plays is going to be not only important but essential and valuable for the moment. And so that's why we're having these kind of discussions. They feel like, they changed up their review format. Yes, slightly. One of the things I wanted to review, though, is what do you think the most recent, or here's what I'll say. Here's how I'll phrase it. What do you think the mainstream media, the football people, the mainstream football folks are talking about that doesn't apply to fantasy, but they keep railing on it? I got one in mind if you guys don't have anything.
I don't really have anything in mind per se.
Not off the top of my head. Give me yours. While
I think. It drives me nuts, and I know this is like narrative, and they just want that Tom Brady kind of mystique around this team still, because like there's probably some like Sunday Night Football games or Monday Night Football game or something they're trying to promote. But the fact that I woke up and like I forget what it was, NFL Network's Good Morning Football was literally breaking down the percentage chance that the Green Bay Packers had to make the playoffs. And like, I know it's going to seem biased because I'm a fan of that division, but these are the kind of topics where it's like they rag on fantasy people for like literally breaking down the minute details of like, you shouldn't take a knee, or how we get pissed that like Nick Chubb takes a takes a slide and doesn't go in for a touchdown, we're disappointed by that outcome. But yet they're allowed to break down, Aaron Rodgers' potential to make the playoffs for 25 minutes. Like, we're a lot smarter than the mainstream media as fantasy people.
I'm going to back them up on this. Good Morning Football and NFL Network just support fantasy stuff usually.
They do. I was just using it as an example of like where the mainstream media talks about something just to promote it as a topic, but it doesn't apply to fantasy, I guess. I just wondered if you had anything like that.
Maybe. I mean, they do talk a little too much about like quarterbacks. Like that's one of the big things I get. But like quarterbacks are important. But like, well, anytime I'm watching ESPN and they're just like, good game, bad game, they just like end the guy's career on something. It's like, I've seen too many crap quarterbacks throughout my life to know that there's only a handful of really good ones.
Yeah. Another thing I think the fantasy community does really, really well is that we're ahead of the curve, and I think like this will apply as we get onto smaller slates. And I just want to mention it is I think we do a very good job of reviewing the trends, especially like trends before they become popular, like running quarterbacks. I think the fantasy community has been on running quarterbacks faster than the mainstream media. And for some reason, like the mainstream media doesn't like analytics. They don't like running quarterbacks. Like the mainstream just seems to be making fun of Kyler Murray. For a long time there, it was Jalen Hurts, but now he kept winning. But I feel like he doesn't even get enough attention as an MVP candidate. They still want to talk about Patrick Mahomes more. And you can make that argument. I'm fine with that argument. But it's like, because we break down salaries and prices so much, I just feel like we have a wider band of appreciation for different types of players. Would you find that to be true or
not? I would say that's true.
Fair enough.
People definitely get like a lot of favoritism. Like Mahomes is going to get a favoritism, but that's because he's been so good for too long. I think at this point, if you have anyone but Jalen Hurts as your MVP, you're really making a stretch to not look at these numbers, and you're just going off.
I mean, Tyreek as the first 2,000-yard receiver, I could maybe, if Miami makes the playoffs if Miami wins the division over Buffalo, I could see
Jefferson's ahead of Tyreek Hill now. He needs 465 yards to break the record, I think it is.
So, like, it's between Jefferson. Like, I could see Jefferson or Tyreek getting that. But but if they're gonna give it to a quarterback, this year it's probably Hurts.
Jalen Hurts I know it's 22 passing touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 10 rushing touchdowns. That's hard to argue.
Right now that's like front runner for a quarterback at least. So like you would need to be a 2,000+ yard receiver,
right?
First time in NFL history, kind of thing, and like whoever does it more efficiently is probably
Let me ask you this question, Donnie, because this is like your first year of like fully immersed in daily fantasy. Did you find the Thanksgiving slate where it was a 3-game slate intriguing? Did you find it more difficult?
I love it. That was my favorite slate so far.
So
3-gamer.
Can we build a Saturday lineup for this week? Not that we have to do it on this show, but like at some point I would love. Even if we build it off stream and then bring it to the people on stream.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind doing it right now because we're going to do our Saturday show for the Sunday slate. So let's do a lineup real quick for the Saturday one. There's a free contest we can put it in.
Before we get to that, I just want to say there's somebody I have an eye on this week. Nelson Aguilar against his former Raiders team that gave up on him, I think is very interesting. And
I might like that too. The Raiders kind of suck.
10 targets after Devontae Parker went down with an injury.
If Jacoby Myers is still out, I would definitely be on Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah. If Jacoby Myers and Parker are out too,
then I'm 100. Like then I have like it's just a literal price thing.
Yeah,
he'll be in our. Oh yeah, he might be a pillar if those guys are out. We're playing Aguilar, of course. But yeah,
I was looking for the 3. I thought I saw a 3-entry max here for but I could be wrong. I can jump the press a bit too. But I'm pretty sure I saw a 3-inch max for the Saturday slate. But yeah, I was really intrigued. Here it is. I was really intrigued by doing one of these with you, Donnie. Gov is a little too friendly. Not friendly. He won't brag about himself. Humble. Humble's the word I was looking for. Me and Gov usually do really well with these playoff slates because we do better. I feel like, at least for me, when things are condensed and you can really take some long shots. Like when you find the Jameson Williams when nobody else wants to play him. I feel like that's when I do well, and then Gov usually does really well for a different reason with 3-game slates. I find because we used to watch a ton of games last year together, Gov. I feel like the playoff slates are our thing. So the fact that they're adding another Saturday game to these Saturday experiences, I think is going to make us
All right.
I think we're supposed to get Saturday slates the next 2 weeks too. So. All right.
Yeah.
3-game slate. Let's see. Indy,
Hold on.
Minnesota, Baltimore, Cleveland, Miami, Buffalo.
How did we like the draft lineup that we built? Because I think that would be interesting to do on a Saturday slate.
Let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in. All right.
No quarterbacks
let's
with the
see.
first pick.
No quarterbacks first pick. I will cede to one of you two for the first pick.
I'll go first this time since you went last time.
Fair enough, Donnie. But here, let me get this out of the way because I think we had a good way. No quarterbacks first, and then no quarterbacks last. Because Gov mentioned we shouldn't pick a quarterback last because then it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
So I think
okay. So since I went last, so we'll do draft order: Donnie, me, Logan, and then Logan gets a second pick for me, and then Donnie, and we'll snake draft that way back.
That makes sense.
All right.
All right. My first guy one in there is going to be David Njoku.
I like that.
I love that. I feel like he's.
I am perfectly fine with Njoku. That's a great tight end play. 4,200. I haven't even looked at pricing on this. So I'll admit.
I'm ready, boys. I'm ready.
All right. So let's see. For me, I feel like the player I want the most from this.
Let's just try and get off the defense.
This is a fun slate. Like,
Sure.
I need a late game piece. So like, give me
your wish is my command.
Okay.
James Cook.
I would have never played him, so I'm glad you did because. That's the kind of fun about it is playing guys that we would never.
We need a cheap running back. He gets passing game work at home.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
In a game Buffalo needs to win to make sure they win this division.
Mm-hmm.
Before we make our next pick, I want to point something out. I don't know if you guys consider it big or small. I think it's something to look at and question. Last game the Dolphins they were in LA. They brought heaters in 55 degrees. They're going to have a snowstorm this week in Buffalo.
So I would even want more the running game in Buffalo, and I'll take Cook.
That actually makes me want James Cook even more because I want the run game, right? But then people are going to think, like you, Donnie, they're going to say, well, James Cook is the receiver. And I actually think he's the most explosive running back, just as a ball carrier. So, I love this pick even more.
I just think it's interesting that Miami brought heaters in 55 degrees and now have to play in Buffalo in the snow.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be fun for them.
I think we fade the Dolphins.
It's your pick, Logan. So.
Well, I'm definitely not playing any Dolphins. People know personally what I think about Tyreek Hill. One of these days, I might do one of those emotional podcasts and really break things down, but I'll leave that for another day. You'll never see me take Tyreek Hill. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see, what do we want to do here?
You pick whoever you want.
Let me get.
Who's your favorite player from this 3-game slate?
That would be. I can't remember it's probably better I don't actually remember my line so then I don't copy it completely. Let me get. No, there was a 3K guy I wanted to play. I know who it is now. If, and I will change this if it's not true, so don't hold me to it. But if Cooper is out and he was a non-participant on a short week, and now I see he's hurt too, so maybe he also was a non-participant. I want to play Peoples-Jones. I think.
Even if Cooper's in, I'm fine playing Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, because David Bell's out too, and then like Schwartz is on IR. I just feel like Peoples-Jones is a good play. He's their speed guy too, right? Like even if Cooper
he's their team threat, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm perfectly fine playing Peoples-Jones, even if Cooper in or out.
Right. So
I have no we can't. This is the way we do it. I can't stop the pick, and I have no problem with it. So we're good.
Pick again, Logan.
Yep, you get a second.
It's my pick again, right?
Yep.
So here's where I can get strategic, and I'll walk the people through it. Because do I pick a guy that I think's a good value that I know you guys won't pick, or do I pick another like a guy that, like for sure I want to make sure we get in the line? That's the interesting part here. It's like, what
do you block me from stacking Deshaun in this lineup in the next pick?
No, I actually think Deshaun's a good pick. Now
it wouldn't be the way we're building the lineup. He wouldn't be bad. We'd already have the double with him, but like it's a 3-game slate, so we don't essentially need that if the lineup goes a different way. Well, but like, what's your pick?
Oh, let's talk about that because I don't know what you guys are going to pick, and then it's going to be a long time before I pick. So I'll just give you my opinion on Watson, and you guys can do what you want with it. I think he's kind of failed his. He's
going to have low ownership this weekend. Right?
Yeah, it's because he got 6 and then 17 in this game. But I just think this is the third week. Usually is the week that people blow up off of injuries, and I know it was inflicted.
And this will also be. I think this is his first home game. He had to play in Houston and in Cincinnati.
So he's going to be able to tell the crowd to quiet down, and that might sound silly, but he's got a lot of extra heat, and he deservedly so. I'll mention, but it's now he can actually tell the crowd to quiet down. I like it,
but we'll see if I get to that.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it? Oh, you're going to play Jefferson. I like that. I don't hate that.
Yep, I'm going to do it.
Because
are you guys perfect for time, or can I make another point about this? Because
you go for it. You're good.
So I was watching the Lions-Vikings game, and I don't know.
He watched the 2K.
No, it's not even a Jefferson point. Well, it is, but it's like a roundabout way to say this. I don't know Kevin O'Connell that well. Like, this is his first year. But I can tell you, he looked pretty calm the first meeting they had with him. And he's always kind of seemed very, very even keel, like kind of just a calming influence. He was legit pissed off that TJ Hawkinson dropped that third down wide open at the sticks. Like, that was a perfectly designed play. Cousins delivered it perfectly. Not that I'm saying Hawkinson's like going to get delegated completely, but I do think in those crucial moments, maybe Hawkinson isn't the guy that we once thought the first couple of weeks when we saw his targets at more like 8 or 9. They've slowly decreased, and then he was super pissed that he dropped that third down. I'll just say that for a guy who doesn't normally get upset. So, Gov, you got a pick for us, brother?
Yep. I am going to correlate this lineup by playing the Bills defense.
Oh, that's what I wanted. That would have been my pick.
Well, now you can play Deshaun for the double stack. Okay.
I'm going to ask you a fun fantasy question that I think a lot of times defenses get laughed at, and this thing is going to be a fun kind of way to have this conversation and give Donnie a bit more time to think about his pick. Gov, if they did IDP fantasy for daily, how do you think that would go? Because and I'll bring this to a more serious point, and we can have a little fun with do they do IDP. It's like, do you find defenses to be too variant? Because a lot of like the quote unquote touts are like, oh, defense is so variant, and on a small slate like this, as we review things, it's like, yeah, well, we're gambling too, brothers. Like at some point, there's going to be variance.
We
to
said
be
we're
honest,
fading Miami.
we're fading Miami. It makes sense there.
Yeah.
We correlate with our running back. It makes sense there, and it fits one of my parameters that I have to like focus a defense. Like on top of like focusing the normal thing of I want a high point total, but I want the defense that's going to be ahead against the team that's going to have to throw. That's probably going to make mistakes, interceptions, stuff like that. But on top of that, I want like one of the scenarios I look for is East Coast team going west, coming back east to another road game.
Yeah.
That's a scenario for a team to be not in a great spot. And especially Miami, where they were using the heaters on the sideline in LA when it's 55.
Yep.
They're not going to have a fun road game in Buffalo now. Like they'll definitely have gone back to Miami and then fly up to Buffalo, but still. Like that just means more travel. That means you're going east, west, east, north, east, south, east, north. Like, so.
I agree.
I definitely am fine with the Bills. And I was totally again, I haven't looked at the slate. I was expecting them to be the most expensive defense. The fact that it's Minnesota.
They should be.
No, I think this is like a Thanksgiving slate, Gov. I think they want us to take off our pants early. They want us to unbutton from that Thanksgiving turkey, similar to what we do on that special Thursday. They want the NFL experience because these games are in. I think all three of them are on the NFL Network for the first time ever. Too. I think they want us to stay tuned to that channel all day long, and so they know if they bump down the prices a little bit, it's just going to make things a little bit more fireworky for the slate. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We don't care what the prices are because me and you are going to play regardless, and we're going to find a way to puzzle it together. And so I actually don't like that it's this fun and exciting to put all this together, but it's possible, so I'm going to do it.
Well, we already had a thing saying our last pick can't be quarterback, so we have to throw Deshaun in there with my first pick.
You could always throw a different quarterback.
We could always throw a different quarterback. You're not.
You are not hamstrung to. We can like. There's still plenty of spots.
We're not talking about this, sir. This is your draft pick, brother. This is
exactly. Do you want? Who would you rather have?
I'm not punching an Allen in a snow game. I'd rather just go with Watson.
There is the horrible thing where Huntley and Lamar could miss, and then we have whoever that guy is for Baltimore. That's their I don't even know his name.
Let's go season line just for a second, and you can even include these games. But just because we want to be efficient with these reviews and not like have 1,000 topics, but I do want to mention it. Who's been the quarterback that's been good for fantasy, but just terrible like real life quarterback?
Fields.
So
Fields has been a fantasy monster, but Chicago has not been a good team, and they haven't looked great. But he's looked great on the stat line.
So, Donnie, do you think Fields is like their long-term option? I'm talking like 5 years from now.
Yeah.
I don't think I
think he will be a long-term option for a team. I'm not sure if it's Chicago because Chicago is a mess.
I don't think he lasts 5 more years. The way he plays in the NFL, I don't think he'll stand up to it. But that's my bias.
I'm going with the brother. We're putting Dalvin Cook in there.
The Cook boys. We're cooking. This lineup is cooking. I like it.
Speaking of cooking, I think we're all like good-hearted, volunteer-natured people. I can make a promise, because this is the first time I'm playing Watson, that if this lineup cooks, pun intended, to make it a bit more of a fun topic, because I'm about to say this probably will trigger some people. if this lineup wins, I will donate some money to a good charity because I don't support some of what Watson is doing. But that's just a way of, again, speaking to accepting the bad to get to the good. If he makes us a ton of money, me, Gov, and Donnie will do good with the money. So I just want
I would be absolutely fine with that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sure you guys would agree. Like,
So, I really like that actually.
I just
But
want to mention that because I do think that actually plays in our favor, though, because I do think some people will be like, I'm not touching him because my wife would kill me or my mom would be disappointed in me. So that might bring his ownership down more,
right.
too.
So, I just want to point out why I put Dalvin Cook in the lineup.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw that the Colts have given up, like, I think it's 6 rushing touchdowns in the last 4 games. Cook is, even with Jefferson, they both can have a good game together. I really don't like Indianapolis to do much. So I assume this is going to be fireworks from the Vikings early, and then they just hammer them all.
Yeah. Gov, you play whoever you want. I think I got a cheap option if we need to go there. You got to
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then Nick Chubb.
Well, then.
See if we can make it work.
I mean, if you're just going to tempt me, I'm going to throw the Chubb.
I'll see if it works.
Pause.
There's money.
Pause.
That's workable money. That's workable money.
I can make this work. Who was the guy that wanted to play, though? I can't. So I know the one guy that would work.
I'm assuming there's the cheap Ravens guy.
No, it was
Austin Doolin?
no, the guy I didn't want to play for the Browns, but I want to see if I can find the really cheap guy that was.
That's a lot of Browns.
I want to say it was a tight end. Was really cheap. That I wanted to play this week, but I can't remember for sure who it was.
You wouldn't be able to get a tight end. It has to be a wide receiver because we're at 3 running backs.
Yeah, I'll just play the guy I think is a good play, who got 5 targets since Deshaun came back, fits the lineup well, had a good college profile, hasn't broken out yet, looked a lot like Romeo Dubes coming out of college. Let's play David Bell. And
All right.
you guys might not know why, but look at these numbers since. Well, I mean, this is his first game with Watson on the field primarily. Saw 1 target, but was limited. I believe he got healthier because I believe he was like doubtful or quote unquote doubtful because they can't call him doubtful anymore. It's weird. Like, but he's been banged up, but he did see the field more this week. He could potentially see that DeAndre Swift kind of extra boost as he gets healthier. I like this play. And if I think of the other play, given that he was in no contact injury, then maybe we'll play him too because there was another cheap receiving option somewhere. It was either a tight end or wide receiver. But I think this is a pretty good show.
Yeah, that's not a bad start.
I really like having both the Cooks in there.
Yep. I think we have great running backs. If Cleveland kills Baltimore, this lineup destroys.
Okay, so let's say Bell and Njoku don't play. Do we move off Chubb and go down to Taylor and get up to the 3,600 range? Would that do much for us or no?
I say if Bell and Njoku don't play.
If one of the two don't play.
We would play Bryant probably because he would be cheaper.
Okay, well, then if Bell doesn't play, we have to go to a receiver.
We either play Bryant or Knox.
What about Sherfield?
Well, our whole thing was we could already afford Sherfield technically.
Yeah, I know that. I'm saying we don't want to play a Dolphin, but like at that point, wouldn't he be the best option?
Probably. I was just saying if we had to, if like Bell is out, we need to move off a receiver. Just who's at 3,700? Osborne. You already have Jefferson.
I mean, if we go to Harrison Bryant, we can go to Gabe Davis at receiver.
Yeah. See, that's
right. Yeah. See, that makes sense.
That's probably the 2B2. So if Njoku or Bell are out, like if it's just Bell, I don't mind going to Doolin or Deshaun.
Or potentially we get up to Robinson, who was killing it with Lamar, but with Huntley, we see him target and Andrews a lot more. Yeah. So those are some options.
Right.
Okay, so here's a couple more things I want to shoot at people before we close up shop, because like I said, we were aiming for a quicker but more efficient show. I'll say it this way. What are some playoff teams that may have underperformed so far this season, or like are getting exciting for fantasy? So like we'll see all week long, people will talk about the probability of the Jets, the Patriots, the Chargers, what have you, these teams making the playoffs. Who do you think will be the most exciting if they get in? And then who do you think will be the most disappointing? Those are the two questions. And then selfishly, who do you want in for DFS purposes? And you could answer all three of those, one of those, however you guys want to take it. But I feel like that's a great conversation to end on.
All right. I think the most exciting would probably be the Seahawks if they manage to get in over the Niners.
I disagree, so I'm excited. So I want to hear your take, and then I got one.
That offense has a lot of firepower, and their defense isn't great, so I feel like they have a chance to just have a big shootout game, lose in the first round probably, but it will be fun to watch, especially if they match up against like the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And
By
plus,
the way,
who doesn't like a divisional? Who doesn't like we assume a good game. We're going to probably get an NFC East matchup. Right now, there's 4 NFC East teams in the playoffs. Yes, 4 NFC East teams in the playoffs. So who doesn't like that matchup? But I do think
I'm honestly just gonna love to see whoever the Cowboys lose to. It's just whatever that game is.
I think the Titans are going to be so disappointing if they make it.
From a fantasy perspective?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me flip this on its head, Donnie. Obviously, we know the reasons why they would be disappointing. I'm sure people could tell you that, right? Like Traylon Burks is hurt. They already didn't have a great passing game. Do you think that if the Titans were to miss, though, it would take such a big piece of their running game away, like a piece that everyone likes to play, Henry, the big dog? Do you think like that condenses ownership? Does that make it more fun? Like, so give me your kind of take why you think the Titans are so bad from an angle that most people wouldn't consider.
Okay. So let's say the Titans did miss. That would mean the Jaguars propelled over them, which will not happen most likely. What I think having a cheaper running back like Etienne's more exciting than having a big guy like Derrick Henry who's going to be super high priced.
Fair. See, I like this organic conversation, so I'm going to kick it over to Gov now. Gov, so in the next 2 weeks, right, would you rather Travis Etienne show you something, to Donnie's point, like show you, hey, he's getting more involved in the passing game. So when that playoff game potentially comes, even if it doesn't come, we play a week-to-week game, so like we know their motivations are going to be to make the playoffs. So week 16, week 17, he's viable. Or do you want it to be where he pops on that like short slate like this one? Like, do you want him to wait to the playoffs to have that big like 10-catch game? Or would you rather see it before you play it?
I always would rather see it.
Yeah.
Like that's just my mentality anyway.
Fair enough. So, Gov, I'll just kick the initial question over to you. Like, what is some of your kind of leans when it comes to that question in itself?
Let's see. Like the playoffs, like whoever from the NFC South is going to disappoint, whether it's Tampa or Carolina. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just going to be a bad game that they have to host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
like I think it'll probably end up being Seattle coming to that spot, if not Dallas.
Yeah, but I could see it being like the Washington. I don't think the Giants make the playoffs.
I don't think so either.
Now, I think it would be great if they did, just because it's first of all.
I'm not sure Washington does either.
I think Washington does.
I mean, 3 do make it now. So, like, probably Washington, because I think the wild cards are probably going to be Dallas, Detroit, and Seattle.
Detroit has a real shot. I think they're a game and a half back right now.
And I want to mention, because I know this, not because I'm like, oh, homer, but it does help in this case. Detroit does have the tiebreaker over the Commanders. We beat them in week 2. It was our first win.
Yeah, so I think you'd have like Dallas, Seattle, Detroit as the 3 wild cards.
There's a good chance you're not going to need the tiebreaker because Washington has the tie. You're going to be above them or below them.
Right, because of the tie. But Seattle doesn't look potentially all that great. And I don't know. The NFC is going to be interesting. I think, to Gus' point, like just the NFC in general could just be a fun.
I
think Philly San Fran is now. I'm more willing to say I would bet Philly San Fran as the NFC title game right now.
Well,
okay.
Here's the thing. I've been so on San Francisco being my Super Bowl favorite, but then Garoppolo goes down and I'm lost now. I don't know what's coming out of the NFC.
I think what I saw from this last game gave me hope because really,
that's the first time they've thrown anyone out.
When you think about San Francisco, what they were planning on doing this year was having a near rookie quarterback whose needs work try to run the offense throughout the year and get better. So if Brock Purdy can just get them through till Garoppolo can get back, I think they are still fine. And what I saw is he's capable.
Okay.
Now maybe it's a 1-game thing. Mike White had one good game. Maybe Brock Purdy now has the Nathan Peterman game.
I got the question, Donnie. I got the question that will put our money where our mouth is, and I'll even answer it too. We can go round table. What do you think is more likely? If I gave you $100 you had to bet it on, so you have to believe it. Does Brock Purdy win his first playoff game? Let's assume they make it. Does he win a playoff game? Or is it more likely that the Lions win the division? You have to put $100 either one of those propositions. Which one are you choosing today?
I'm going Brock Purdy.
What about you, Gov?
I would also go Purdy.
They're so far behind, Logan. It's
almost impossible, I think, for Detroit to win the division over Minnesota.
Here's what would have to happen: the Vikings would have to lose all their games.
Yeah, and the Lions need to win out.
I just asked that because everyone thinks the Vikings are pretenders.
Here's the thing. Now I don't know how you guys feel about point differential and everything like that, but they are -1 in their point differential this year.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's disgusting.
And they won a game against the Commanders with a minute left in the game, and then the Lions, they had to go to almost overtime. There was 20 seconds, and Cousins threw a go ball to Osborne when we had no secondary members. The secondary member that Osborne beat is now cut off the Lions team. He got cut after that play. So I'm not saying they don't deserve wins, but their margins do say something about that team. So
and you know what they remind me of, though, Logan?
What's that?
The Vikings remind me of the Eagles last year, where the Eagles got completely embarrassed in the playoffs. Now, the Eagles are lucky that they're a young team that can improve. I don't know how the Vikings improve from here.
Here's
defensively.
Here's another interesting one. I'll answer the question. I think it's more likely the Lions would have won, but I've always been lower on the 49ers talent-wise, and now you're going to take Debo off. I do think the best talent, the most supreme talent is CMC. I played CMC all week last week. He blew up. Gov will know this. We were in a chat with our guys. So if you guys were there, if you guys are any of our listeners, like and subscribe and continue to support the show. I know Hustle was in there. We were the only two people that were really strong on CMC. People thought he was overpriced that week. And we were like, no, they got to use him. This week, man, I don't know how they don't even use him more. They could make him 9,000. I'm still playing him.
I also just want to point this part out. With the 49ers, the whole thing with the Lions winning out and winning the division.
Oh, I don't think either one of them are likely. So
no. But there's a scenario
Yeah.
where the Lions win out
Yep.
and they still don't win the division, but the 49ers and Lions play, which I think could be a very fun game.
It would be a very fun game.
That's a lot of talent. It would be great for fantasy.
Here's the thing. No, here's the thing that would be fun about it. I don't think many people would talk about, right? The 49ers have a really good pass rush, and the Lions have the best offensive line, I think, this season, like statistically.
All right. I have a question for you guys. What do you guys think would be the worst possible first round matchup in the playoffs? Because I have one in my head.
Anyone the Commanders play.
Really? Because my thing would be the Patriots-Titans would be the worst possible matchup.
No, because Mac Jones is – I don't know if it's Patricia. I don't know if it's Steve Belichick, but, like, whoever convinced Bill Belichick he should probably come into the modern era and let Mac Jones actually cook a bit. Like, we talked about letting Russ cook, and then it turned out, oh, yeah, Russ is a rusty pot. He can't cook. Like, it's over. There's no fire there. Whoever decided, hey – Mac Jones is pretty good. Like, since he started just, like, having, 25 attempts a game, he's proven he can lead a pretty shitty offense, like, receiving-wise.
But I don't think that the offense is awful receiving-wise. They have decent pieces there. They're just so average that it doesn't really...
So average that you had to use a defender as, a guy?
That's with injuries, though.
I get that, but that's part of your depth. That's kind of my point. I would agree Myers is a great receiver if he's healthy. Parker is a great receiver if he's healthy, but Parker's never been healthy.
Well, Myers not being healthy is just unfortunate.
Right.
You have Aguilar there who's going to be a decent deep ball guy. Not that we ever throw deep balls in New England. I
was on the record saying that I think Thornton was a steal pick, but I think that offensive lineman was a terrible pick you guys had.
Cole Strange was a terrible pick.
Right.
Everyone thinks it was a terrible pick. But even if he played good, even if he turns into a Hall of Famer, it's a bad pick.
That's what
to go for the first round.
Shout out to Mike Renner from PFF. He's the one who said it first. He's like, even if he turns out good, the expected value of that pick was just bad. Gov, you got any other topics you wanted to bring up from this week? It could be current, could be future projections.
Nope, we went through Saturday. That was the one thing I wanted to make sure we talked about.
Yeah.
So I'll be ready for us when we come back Saturday night to talk Sunday.
Fair enough. We did mention the Patriots, did mention the Lions. I'm not just mentioning this because I know you're a Panthers guy. I said it a couple weeks ago. I had a Saints bet because I thought they were going to play Jameis Winston. The Panthers finally got to play the best quarterback on the roster, Sam Darnold. He's only 25 years old. He is leading that team to the playoffs, damn it. I want that on the record, Gov. He's leading that team to the playoffs. They're going to be the playoff team.
It's going to be between them and Tampa. But I don't think either of them, like, even whichever one gets in, them versus, like, whoever they play, that's not going to be a great game.
I think Sam Darnold is sneaky good. Like, I think Sam...
He's too much like Carson Wentz, though. Like, he turns the ball over a lot.
Dude, that's fine. That's fine because you don't realize...
You saw the Commanders activated Carson Wentz, too, right?
Yeah, apparently...
Doesn't mean he should play.
No, but Donnie, to that point, apparently Ron Rivera is strongly considering it because he thinks that people have been a little bit unfair to the Carson Wentz narrative this season or something like that. He basically said, like,
win with Heineke.
Like, I wouldn't play Wentz until he's ready, but I do think he should end up being better than Heineke.
Wentz is better than Heineke.
Wentz is better than Heineke, but that doesn't mean they win with Heineke.
Okay. So here's an interesting one on the Commanders because, I mean, this is a team that most people won't talk about in the mainstream. Who is a bigger impact if you got 100% Carson Wentz in the playoffs or 100% Chase Young? Like, because I think the shiny toy would say Chase Young, but the defense is still look pretty good without him. Or do you think?
I'll say this: I think Washington's ceiling is much higher with Carson Wentz, but it's also much lower with Carson Wentz as well, and that's where I'm at.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because Monday Night Football, they're going to talk about narrative, so I get it. Like, that's probably why I got jammed on our throat. Just like years ago, Kershaw and Matthew Stafford playing baseball would get jammed down your throat. Everyone's heard that narrative. We kept hearing that, the Cardinals, if they were full health, we could have saw Brown and Hopkins and, Ertz, and none of these guys played together. And it's just like, and then I've already heard rumors that, hey, Carson's pretty good with play action. If Robinson and Carson got in the field at the same time, that might be a great 1-2 punch. It's just like, oh man, we're already doing this thing where
the Cardinals thing. I kind of get that's a stretch, and you're trying to convince yourself of something that just isn't there.
Well, I mean, I'm a Robinson guy, but remember how they were trying to convince themselves once he got shot, he should be the comeback player of the year. And it's like, yeah, if he puts up the numbers, you can use the gunshot and his adversity as a comeback story. But let's not just put him as a comeback player because he got shot like that. To me, that's almost.
He's not eligible for a award. He didn't play. He didn't miss games.
Right. I mean, to me, that's just it's a nasty way to look at that situation, in my opinion.
But Logan, you've convinced my new favorite narrative of this playoffs. I'm rooting for Washington and Carson Wentz to beat the Eagles. That's what I want.
Here's another thing I got to mention.
I don't think it happens. I just want it to happen.
I'm going to say this. I think the Chargers, with Mike Williams, if he doesn't jump in the air 18-foot pole vault style and break his hip in the next 2 weeks, which sadly for that young man, given his injury history, is possible. I honestly think the Chargers have a top 3 offense in the whole AFC. I think the Chargers are the most dangerous fantasy team coming out of the playoffs in the AFC because it's like Seattle with a better quarterback. Their targets are so condensed. It goes to 3 people: Eckler, Allen, Williams. But then they're so deep because of all the other injuries. I love that. I love that Chargers team for fantasy purposes.
See, here's the thing about that team, though. If they can get out of the first round of the wild card round, then they have a real shot. Because for them to get out of the first round, most likely they're going to be I don't know. I feel like they're probably going to end up being the 5 seed, the top wild card, over Miami so that would have them. Well, no, wait, that's wrong. Yeah, no, I don't think. I think I would have them probably being the 6th seed.
Yeah, right now the Chargers are 8th.
Yeah, I think they can probably be the 6th seed, but being the 6th or the 7th seed means they're going to play either Buffalo or Kansas City in the first round. If they can get past that, they have a real shot of actually making a run.
Well, I'd like to see Kansas City and the Chargers play, just because I think division games in the playoffs are so fun to watch. But
I want good games, man. I just want good games. Any last top? I feel like we had a lot of fun today.
I have one last thing I want to say as a Patriots fan. Go Bills. Beat the brakes off the Dolphins. Give the Patriots a better chance to make playoffs.
You got anything for the people? Got anything at all?
By the way, I love that we're getting more football. Happy for everyone.
Yeah.
Hope they've all had a good time. Hope that they're getting ready and going to be safe for the holidays.
I guess we should mention this because this is kind of our review show. We didn't review our lineup because you guys can see the balance. We did well enough this week, right? No big wins, but we stayed above water. We made profit. And so we thought, well, we'll just build a lineup and use some of those funds to have fun tonight, to show you what a Saturday lineup would look like, because I thought it was one of our best shows when we do our lineups. What was I guess lastly, this would be the last thing. What was a thing in our lineup that you thought we did right or wrong, given the hindsight? And I don't even want to pull up the lineup because then that would be cheating. Right? I just want your initial, after the game locked, I didn't like that we did this.
I mean, I love that we played CMC. Even if it failed, I'd love it.
Yeah.
It didn't fail.
That was that 100%. I was on that.
I'm gonna go opposite side of the coin for mine. I'm so glad that we played Andrews in our one lineup. It didn't work because the reason we played Andrews was because of Huntley, who got injured in that game. Brown is not a over the middle thrower. He's not even really a thrower. He's more of a Tim Tebow kind of athlete. Like, it's not his fault. It's just what he is. We played that play because of Huntley and Andrew's correlation, that shower narrative, that I eat breakfast with you narrative. And once he got injured, of course he wasn't going to see as many targets and opportunities. Like, I still think that was a good play. And it made that lineup unique, playing two tight ends in that scenario. Gov, you got anything? I might have missed it, buddy, if you did.
No, I think like the lineup was solid. Goff
Like I'm
was a
saying,
good
like-
choice. I really loved playing CMC.
Yeah. Well, let's speak on that then, because really quickly, I know it, but I'm just having so much fun shooting with you guys. So people thought CMC was so expensive last week, right? Because we heard it in all of our channels. With Debo out this week, are people just gonna like almost like what I did and what other people did? So I'll put egg on my face. You see one good week of DeAndre Swift and the usage goes from 30% to like 55%. You're like, Swift is back. Swift is the number one back, and then he goes right back to 33% the next week. And so, like, because people were so against that pricing last week on CMC, but then you got Debo being out, do people just jam CMC being like,
well, don't they play primetime this week?
They are the Thursday night game against Seattle, and he will probably be the highest owned captain.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know that. Like, I should have probably known that, but I just built my base shell lineups. But I guess, like, do people want to play him more now that Debo's on and like they saw it, and so they're just going to overweight him, and that's a mistake? Or do you think it's real? Like what we saw at CMC, do you think it's real?
He's clearly getting the volume. He's getting all the volume that CMC has normally gotten. Like maybe a few less carries, but that's just going to help him stay healthy.
See, that's the thing. I've always loved him this season, so I want an unbiased opinion because I just think he's like he would have to be over 9K for me not to play him.
He's still getting the volume where he was almost paying off 10K a few years ago. Yeah. So like I'm perfectly fine playing him under 10K. 9,200 where Jefferson and that and all that, like perfect. I'll play CMC at that. He has the same ceiling as those guys.
My thing is, if you're willing to pay Jefferson, play Jefferson. Why would you not be willing to pay that for CMC?
Well, exactly.
For example, right? I went to the store today with my mom, and we found a really good deal on some healthy beef sticks, right? Some beef sticks I would not normally buy, but we had 2 value coupons to get silk milk, the almond silk milk for free, 2 gallons of it, completely free because of some coupons. But so that basically made it made the price of the beef sticks that we overpaid for worth it because, I mean, we're getting all this extra for it. And so, like, it was a treat. And that's kind of like building a lineup. It's like people look at it one for one. Oh, McCaffrey is almost 10K. It's like, yeah, but if you like some of the other cheaper guys, Julio Jones was 4K this week, Jameson Williams, more for the Texans, scored 25 points at like 3K. If you like that option, then CMC wasn't expensive,
Totally gettable, yep.
So I want to make that correlation. It's not so much who's expensive in a vacuum. It's more about the value pack. That's what I'm trying to look at it more as, like, what does the volume allow us to do in a package deal? That's kind of what I look at. But I'll leave it there. Talking about packages, we're getting closer to Christmas. Don't want to keep you guys much longer than this. We're supposed to go half an hour, but we built a lineup. We had some fun. Stay safe, guys. Be safe. Happy holidays and all the rest of it, no matter what holiday you celebrate. But don't put too much stress on things. Play within your bankroll, especially this time of year. It's important. It's so important. So have fun, but stay within your means. Anything else for the people?
That's about it.
Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.